Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Mayhem 405. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down there. My name's Brian. This episode we're going to be working on my 63 Fairlane once again. She's been running pretty good. Took her out to my uncle's place on Memorial Day weekend. Take the family out to the lake, have a good time. Even though it was raining, we still had fun. On the way home though, probably about 20 miles out, the generator light popped on. She rolled all the way into the house, but it was dead as a doornail by the time we got here. So we're going to take a look at this generator. I got on the YouTube and I found a couple different ways that you could test them and see if they're working good. And we got my little jumper cables here. We're going to go ahead and zoom in a little closer, hook them up and see if we can make this thing spin on its own. Because if it's not good, we're going to have to look over the voltage regulator. And man, it might just be an excuse for me to put this 130 amp alternator in here. It might be a little bit of a custom swap, but I think it's going to be fun. I think it'll work great. But just for the sake of doing it, we're going to go ahead and test on this generator and see what it does. I have a really bad feeling it's burnt out, and I know they're kind of easy to rebuild unless the armature burns up on them. So we're just going to have to see what it does and go from there. Where's my drink at? Got a beer somewhere. When you're testing these old generators, you got to be sure if it's positive or negative ground. I don't know if it really matters when you're testing, but you need to know. This system here is using 12 volt. It's a negative ground system, so we're just going to run off the positive. What we'll do is, I already got the wires off here. I took the wire off of the field terminal here, and I also took the wire off of the output terminal in the back. There's a bigger one here. And we'll take those. That's where I use my little jumper cable. Jumper that field terminal down to that output terminal. Make sure we're not grounding out on nothing. Got to touch that output terminal. I'm not going to lie, the first time I did this test, I was jumping from here to here, just like the other video I seen. You do not want to do that. That was a ground. It'll just spark. It won't give you a proper test. Do not jumper to this little here on the Fords. You got the field, but you got a ground terminal right beside it. You do not want the ground. You want the big F field terminal, and then the output terminal on the back, which is the bigger. It has a bigger nut on it than the rest of them. Okay, once you jumper those over there, you run a positive to the battery. Get us a hot wire going here. And I'm going to touch this down here. When I touch that, that motor should spin. That motor should spin probably fairly quickly. I see a lot of crap going on in here, a lot of dust and stuff. It's an old generator. Gosh knows if it was ever changed. I'm sure it's been rebuilt. I actually really think that this has a smaller pulley on it. I was reading about generators and alternators, and generators inherently usually have a bigger pulley so they don't spin as fast because that armature is on the shaft. The armature is the windings. It's got all the copper windings and the block that puts it all wound up, and the magnets are on the outside of the case. Well, those winding armatures will spin around in there, and you get them spinning too fast and it throws them apart. And I'm looking at this, the ones I'm seeing online, they got a much bigger pulley. So I'm thinking somebody changed this out years ago to make it charge a little better than idle, and it probably threw itself apart and they're giving it problems. But let's just see if it moves. Oh, yeah, it moves, but barely. She is not moving very fast at all. The other videos I was watching, they were spinning up pretty good, almost sounding like a drill when they're turning. This old girl barely moving at all. Let's see, it's moving now. Yeah, I think she's fairly much toast right there. It doesn't have a whole lot of kick in her. Now, it could be the brushes. It really very well could be the brushes. Could be the armature. Those armatures, once they go bad, not a whole lot you can do for them. Quite honestly, I've been enjoying the generator, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet and put in the alternator that I picked up for it. I grabbed me a 130 amp alternator out of a mid-90s Ford Taurus. I went down to my starter alternator place ask them what I should do. They actually have another generator just like this one. I could have bought it cheap, put it on there, and been on the road. But I've been really looking for an excuse to upgrade my powerhouse and get a little bit more energy flowing through here. Maybe I could put me an amp and some speakers in the old girl, and at least just be able to power that MSD a little better, man. There's some times that I've been sitting there idling and the RPMs get kind of low because she does idle really low, and the MSD didn't like it. It shut it off. And I don't really want to have to deal with that. I want this baby charging, and I want her charging good. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet. I'm going to pull the battery out of this and just start unhooking stuff, get the old generator and mounts out, just get it all out of the way, and see if I can't mount up this alternator. And then I'm still going to do a video testing my voltage regulator, but what I'm going to finish that video up with is we're going to strip apart the voltage regulator and tear it down and turn it into a junction block. So we're just going to gut it, put it back together, and it'll be a power junction that'll be over here on the side fender or up in the front next to the radiator, where I can pull power off of instead of trying to pull everything off the battery or the old, wiring that's been in here since 1963. I'm trying to upgrade a little bit. I'm thinking about actually putting a battery to the back to run a good size amp. We'll see how it goes, but for now we're going to concentrate on trying to put that powerhouse in here and see how that goes. It's probably going to be an interesting install. A lot of other folks have done it with smaller alternators that I've seen. I've read stories about people putting the 130 in here. It's got a bigger housing, don't quite mount the same, but I don't know, we'll find out. Well, after a quick little mock-up, I have determined that this isn't going to go in as easy as I was hoping. Yeah, I'm using a lot of washers right there. It's kind of ugly, I know, but it's just mocked in. It's just pretty far back for the pulley I have. I do have a 3-belt pulley that I could try to put on there, but the problem is mounting points on that 260 water pump housing. It's just not really in the right place. Somebody warned me about it, that if you don't have the proper mounting spots, that putting these 3G alternator in is kind of difficult. I could probably use a Chevy bracket. I'm not quite there yet. I don't want to mess with that. I think I want to go cruise tomorrow night, so I'm probably just going to go trade this alternator back in and just go ahead and get the generator they had there, slap it back to a generator for now. I'm going to hold on to my other parts. I'm pretty sure I have a 289 water pump housing, timing chain cover. I'm going to have to check and make sure it's the right one, and I'll come back out to 3G, swap it another time. I'll make sure I get all my other stuff lined up, because I'd like to get the 289 timing cover anyways, get rid of that breather there, and maybe get a better oil dipstick. My dipstick doesn't read properly, and I don't know. It was a mock-up. I was really hoping to be able to just pop it in there, and I could probably try to figure it out. Thing is, I just don't have time to work it out before the next parade. We got a birthday parade coming up, and then I think we have another cruise coming up as well that's talking about for a movie or something. I don't know. We'll see. I want to get her back on the road, so I'm going to throw it in reverse, pull this alternator back off, take it, swap it out for a working generator. Since our generator was toast, I will have to do a voltage regulator test. Actually, I'm just going to put a new voltage regulator on her just to just so she has it and I ain't gotta worry. So I'll be back with a generator in the morning, hopefully a voltage regulator, and we'll pop that back in and just pull it all back up together and see if we get it running again. I really wanted to do this alternator upgrade. It wasn't going to be very popular though, because I've had a lot of people tell me they really loved that I ran the old generator still. So guess we'll get a little bit more time with the Jenny, and after that it's going to be some custom stuff. But yeah, we'll put the generator in, voltage regulator in. I'll see y'all in the morning. Well, I really don't know what to say other than it whooped me. Yeah, that 3G alternator swap straight up whooped me. Yeah, big empty space there. I can make it work if I'd have taken a little more time, fabricate something, or just break down and buy the custom CNC cut bracketry that's there for to mount it on this old 260. But I really just want to get her cruising. I'll come back to the 3G swap at a different time. It was just not as plug and play as I was hoping. The wiring was about the only thing that was simple. The bracketry just wasn't going to work. This old 260 water pump timing chain cover, somebody warned me about, said it makes it real difficult. I do have a 289 timing chain cover. I might give that one a shot, or I might try to find a newer model, something that'll fit that doesn't have the oil breather on it, and just clean it up a little bit like that. But we'll see, that's later. I want to get her running. So I took the starter back to Jerry's down here in Oklahoma City. Jerry Starter and Alternator, they're great guys. They went ahead and hooked me up with the old generator. It's what they tried to hand me the first day when I convinced them into selling me the 3G, because I wanted to get the 3G. I wanted to do the upgrade. And they handed me this first, and I should have just went with it. I'd already be driving her again, but that's all right. We're going to get this thing put in there, and I really like this because it has an old unit part sticker on there. I don't know if this thing probably ain't going to zoom in on it, but that old unit part sticker, that's a pretty cool deal, man. That's a company here in Oklahoma City that built starters and alternators that employed a whole lot of people, you know, kind of almost too cheap, but you know, it's kind of neat because it's kind of worn in and shows its age just like Zuzu does. You can see her age on places, but we got a new voltage regulator. We're going to slap that in too. So I don't like admitting defeat. I'm not going to call it defeat because I am coming back. Maybe I was defeated once, but we're going to win this war. We will get her upgraded and have some more juice in it. But just for driving, this generator is going to work just fine. I'll round up all the other parts that I need at a later time and come back at it. You know, for now, let's get this thing bolted back together and see if we can fire it up and not have a generator light and go for a cruise. Pretty much got the generator all the way in, and come across something a little unexpected, but totally makes sense when I'm sitting here looking at it. The original generator, I think I said before, had a smaller pulley on it. You know, the generator's got that bigger pulley so they don't spin too fast so it doesn't blow them apart. Well, somewhere along the line, somebody put a small pulley on my generator, the original one, and it's probably what spun it apart. And so I got this one here. It's got the bigger pulley on it. We're just going to run with it and see. But I got this in here, and I'm going to put this adjuster bracket down in here. And I can't get it to adjust out far enough to be able to get the bolt in there. I'm like, man, why wouldn't it do that? Then I'm looking, like, I bet you that little extra doodad right there is not factory. And I need to slide that on in there and just make it without that extra piece. We'll see how that works. I'm going to pull it apart, get that little piece off of there, and see if she'll button up. Generator's mounted. I had the belt on it once. I pulled it back off because I do want to do this spin test real quick. I have not done the spin test on this remanufactured unit yet. I'm kind of curious to see if it spins any faster than the last one. They told me it was fairly well burnt out. The armature was done when I took it back up there. Said it was only coming through one side of it, so why it was running so slow. So I'm just going to do the same old test. I'm going to jumper the field terminal to the power output terminal big one on the back. This one I'm hooking up right now is the ground. Goes around the ground on voltage regulator, if I do remember correctly. Put that on there. Alright, so that one back there. Let's go ahead and hook on that. This. Put this on our positive, and that little generator should spin on up. It doesn't spin a whole lot faster than the last one did. Look at that, look, we powered something up. Got it running off the battery and it just kept on going. Well, the last one though, about every third time it tried to start, and the other times it didn't want to start. Going real fast. I wonder what it does if we took the power off the back of this. Just for giggles. I'd like to see, because I'm hearing other stuff clicking around in the car. Something was turning on, it was hitting relays or something. Powering it up like it does if the key was on. Let's just go ahead. Just have a feel this thing's gonna spark me. I just know it. Free and clear of anything on the car. So you won't have any back feed. You might have been back feeding off the coil or something. I don't know. Let's just see. Ooh, there's a little sparky down here. Let's see how it does that. Definitely sounds a lot better. The other one didn't make that near that noise like a drill kind of doing. It's pretty slow. This is pretty consistent. I don't have to start it with my fingers. The other one I'd have to push it. I'm gonna go with it. I like it. Hope it works. That's all we can do. Yep, we're gonna slap this together. Then we'll swap out that voltage regulator. We got this bad boy to put in here. Lifetime warranty at O'Reilly's. You know, O'Reilly. O'Reilly. Well, I couldn't find the multimeter, so I just went in there and yanked the volt gauge out of her. We're gonna just hook this up real quick and see if that generator's charging at all, see if the voltage regulator's working. I'm going to say no. Yeah, 12 volts. I don't think so. Really don't think so. Nope. charge. Well, guess I kind of expected that. Got the wrong part. Tried to put the old one back in. Of course it ain't gonna work. That's all right. We're gonna leave the old charge on this thing overnight. Let her get a little more juice on her. That thing, we'll see if that thing's pushing out 12 enough voltage or not. It could all be about that regulator though. I guess we'll figure that out tomorrow. There was something else I noticed different about this generator as opposed to my original one. You might ask me why I didn't just have the original one rebuilt and brought in here. I wanted him to, but the armature was shot. He said it wasn't rebuildable. The magnets around there were all cracked out. And he had this one here, which happens to have an old school Oklahoma City unit parts factory stamp on there from when it was rebuilt here in Oklahoma City sometime a long time ago. Can't read it, it's upside down, don't matter. But I thought that just looked kind of cool. You know, everything else is kind of aged on the car. So I went with it, but other than the pulley being bigger, I also noticed that the mounting holes from here to here, here's the straight across mounting holes that go on this bracket here, and this here's where your adjustment bolt attaches to the bottom bracket. Well, if you notice, these here are not straight across from each other. On my original generator, they were straight across from each other, like literally 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock across. So this one on here gives it a little bit of a different orientation. When I put it on the car last time with the bigger pulley, the belt that I was using before, I could barely fit it over the pulleys just because it sits in a different position. It actually hits the valve cover instead of swinging down lower because of this bolt over here. So with the smaller pulley, we're going to see if that belt goes on a little easier. It might have a little more of adjustment, but I don't think that was my problem before. I really think this wasn't spinning fast enough. So let's get it in here, get it polarized, and we'll figure it out. Went ahead and got the car outside. Generator's in, all hooked up, started it up. Voltage went up, hit the gas, went up to about 15. Let it idle, put it down and drive. Voltage held at about 12.5 to 13 volts, exactly where I wanted it. Generator light never came on. Where before, as soon as I put it in drive, generator light was at least coming on dim, and then the lower it gets, the brighter it got. This car, she only likes to idle about 450, 500 RPMs. If I get up to 650, like most motors, that 2-speed transmission just doesn't like it. She just tries to push through it, and you'll be holding on to brakes. So I'm about to fire it up. I have not tested to see. We're at 12.5 volts, 12.6 almost, somewhere in there. Sitting here cold, all right. I'm going to start it up, see what it does idling, and then see how far it goes up, because it actually went up to like 15 volts or so on my gauge, and I'm not really sure if that's good or not. That Optima battery might be able to handle it, but it's also an old gauge, so I don't know how accurate it is. Let's see, we're at 12.3 idling, 12.4. Give it a little bit of juice. 13, 14. I don't know, what do y'all think? 15 volts too much? Back down to 12.9. And I do have the new voltage regulator from O'Reilly's in here, but new doesn't always mean good, so I'm going to look into it a little bit more. I'm actually going to drive to Hot Rods and Hamburgers. We started this little fiasco last week at Hot Rods and Hamburgers and More, and we made it. We went down there, but she wasn't charging right. I still drove it over the weekend, drove to the north side and back, and it was okay, but I just didn't like the generator light coming on. But, you know, generator's in there, looking good, working good. Got that smaller pulley on it, and I think that was just enough to keep the old generator light from coming on. Let's take a look and see. It was saying 12.9 on the meter, and right now we're at just over 13. We're pretty close on this voltage gauge. It's not too far off. turn the lights on. We'll just drive everywhere with the high beams on. Well, she's still charging pretty good, even with the brights on. That's. I wonder if that voltage regulator is just not tweaked right or something. It might be okay, but man, I'd really hate to burn this thing down. Well, we're just gonna ease on down to hot rods and hamburgers. Join me if you want to. All right, guess I should have filmed a little bit earlier. I made it up here to Cars and Coffee. She stays up there just over 12, idling, sitting here. I got the high beams on. I turn the lights off. It creeps back up. Well, not very fast. No, it's staying down there now. See, it drops, but as soon as I was on the highway, it was at like 14. The generator light ain't coming on still, so once again, I don't know how accurate this gauge is. Maybe that generator is just going to fluctuate that much, but I think we're going to be all right. I don't know, maybe I need to change out that regulator. Might just be a little bit too much fluctuation. We got a few over here. There's a couple decent looking rides out here at Cars and Coffee today. We're gonna roll up in there and roll through. I should have just pulled up that way. It's all right. Out here on 12th Street, Moore, Oklahoma. These lanes have been packed bumper to bumper for almost 3 miles. Last year on our lockdown cruise, it was pretty amazing. It was really, really fun. I wish I had gotten good video of it, but my videos got corrupted by Facebook, so it's all memories now. Boomerang Grill. Got great burgers. Come on down here on Tuesday nights, Moore, Oklahoma. You got some kind of cool ride, you get a free burger. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop this and pull in here safely, and we'll be back. Well, made it back from hot rods and hamburgers. That was a successful run. The old generator held up, did what it's supposed to. No generator light at idle. A little smaller pulley spun just fast enough to keep it going. It is charging at 15 volts, so I'm gonna have to look into that a little deeper. It went down below 12 whenever, it was sitting there at idle sometimes, especially with the lights on. But the generator light never came on, not one single time. So I'm gonna roll with it's doing good. I'm gonna check to see if the 15 volts is too much for that Optima. If not, we're gonna run with it. Anyways, hey man, thanks for checking out this video. Hit that subscribe button down there at the bottom, hit the like. Appreciate you guys watching, all 3 of you. We're gonna get some more stuff going on. I'm gonna be pulling the old race truck out of the backyard. It's right out here. See, it's out there in the dark. Oh, you can't even see it. It's so freaking dark out there. That's all right. My lights don't work. Never mind. Anyways, we got her all buttoned up. She's ready to cruise. We're gonna do a birthday cruise this weekend for a buddy of mine's kid on Friday. I'll put that up on YouTube as well. Once again, thanks to everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.